Dear student, from today you will be learning History Lesson 1, the French Revolution. It is an interesting topic and very important lesson. Even for class 9, you have the continuity of this lesson. So dear student, you have to understand very well this lesson. So, the French Revolution is a landmark in the history of Europe and the history of the world. It ended monarchical system in France. It is also a cause for the other European countries to end the monarchical system. So, this is the important revolution in European countries as well as the other part of the world, because it gives the slogan, that is the French Revolution slogan is that liberty, freedom and equality became important idea of the world and the new era. So that is why this French Revolution is an important landmark in the history of Europe as well as in the history of the world. In this chapter, you will be learning about the French society during 18th century, the outbreak of the revolution, France abolishing the monarchy and becoming the republic, how the women had revolution in France, and also the abolition of slavery in France you will be learning, and you also will be learning about revolution in France and everyday life in France you will be learning. So according to me, it is a very interesting lesson if you pay attention and if you go deeper into the lesson. So, I wish you to listen the video continuously and read the textbook 2 or 3 times each concept, and you are the achiever to know this lesson. Now, French society during the late 18th century. In 1774, Louis XVI of Bourbon family became the King of France. He was married to the Austrian princess Maria Antoinette. So he married Maria Antoinette, Austrian princess. When Louis XVI became the King of France, he got an empty treasury, which means the treasury of France was empty. Long years of war and maintenance of the court of the Palace of Versailles in France were the main reason for the empty of the treasury. And the king and the queen, both of them also lived extravagant life, means pleasure-loving life. So this is also another reason for the emptying of treasury of France. Louis XVI helped 13 American colonies to gain independence from Britain. As a result of this, as Louis XVI relieved 13 American colonies from British, that led more than 1 billion livres to be debt for the France. So as a result of the getting independence for 13 American colonies, more than 1 billion livres were added to the debt, which had already risen to more than 2 billion livres. So the lenders, which means those who gave money to France, as a credit, began to charge more interest on France. The lenders who gave the credit began to charge an interest of 10% on loans, which means France had to pay 10% of the interest whatever money they have taken from other country. So that also doubled the loan amount of France, which made France, the condition of France economically very worse. To meet the expenses such as maintaining the army, maintaining the court, running the government and government offices, universities and etc., the state was forced to increase the taxes. This measure was not sufficient. This tax which was increased was not sufficient for French society, because the French society was divided into 3 estates in 18th century, and only the members of the 3rd estate had to pay the taxes. So here is the trick. Only the 3rd estate had to pay the taxes. The first 2 estates were need not pay tax. They are benefited from that. They are privileged ones. They need not pay tax. They were privileged by birth. That's why they were need not pay the tax. The society of estates was part of the feudal system of the Middle Ages. The society and institution of France before 1789 is considered as old regime. Here, feudal system means that existing through the Middle Ages in Europe. The system which existed during the Middle Age in European country. In this system, the people were given land and the protection by a nobleman, and the people in turn how to work and fight for the nobleman. This is the condition between the nobleman and the people. Repeating once again, according to the feudal system which was existing in the Middle Age in European country, the nobleman gave land to the people and protection to the people, and people in turn how to work for the nobleman and fight for the nobleman. This is the condition. This was called feudal system in European country. Then I told you use the word livres. Livres is a currency in France at that time which was discontinued in 1794. Till 1794 only the word livres used. Currency was used. Then I also use the word old regime. The term old regime is usually used to describe the society and institution of France before 1789. So I hope I am clear to all these meanings. So if you read, you can understand very well. Now you shall learn how the society of France was divided. How was the French society divided? The first estate, that is the clergy, it comprised of the group of persons who have special functions in the church. They owned large land and much wealth. They enjoyed certain privileges by birth. They were exempted from paying taxes to the state. The church levied a tax called tithes from the peasants, which comprised of 1/10 of the agriculture produce, which means The church also were allowed to collect tax from the peasants, which was called tithes, that is 1/10 of the agriculture production. This is about the first estate, the privileged estate. The second estate, that is the nobility. The aristocracies, the autocracies come under the nobility, that is the ruling family. The king's families come under the nobility. It comprised of rich aristocrat people of the estate. They also enjoy the privileges of exemption. Now you will learn about the second estate, the nobility. Who were the nobles? The nobles were the rich aristocrats people, the king's family, the autocrat family of the state. They also enjoyed the privileges like clergy, and they were also exempted from paying taxes to the state. They were also privileged by birth. They enjoyed feudal privileges, as I have explained to you already. And the nobles can collect the feudal dues, can enjoy the feudal privileges from the common people, which they extracted from the peasants and the common people. So, which means the nobles can give the land to the peasants or common people, and the common people in turn how to do service to the nobles by giving hand in fighting whenever the nobles wanted, and also paying all the feudal dues. This is about the second estate. Now you will come to know about the third estate. Who comprised of the third estate and what was their condition? Third estate comprised of the rest of the population, that is the businessmen, the merchants, court officials, lawyers, peasants, artisans, landless laborers, etc. come under the third estate. The third estate had no privilege, as they had to pay direct tax called tally to the state, as well as a number of indirect taxes paid by the third estate on articles of everyday essential goods such as the salt, tobacco, etc. Peasants made up of 90% of the population of France. Only a small number of them owned the land they cultivated. 60% of the land was owned by the nobles, the church, and other rich members of the third estates. Peasants were forced to work in the houses of nobles and their lands, to serve in the army or to participate in building roads. So these are the condition of the third estate people in France. Now, how people struggle to survive. The struggle to survive in France. What are the struggle people went through to survive? Why? The reason. Or what is subsistence crisis? During 1715 to 1789, the population of France increased very fast, which led to the increase in demand for food grains. The population of France increased too much, and there was much demand for the food grains. Moreover, there was insufficient food production. Because of that, the prices of the bread also was increasing. But the wages of the workers did not keep pace with the rise of the prices, which means the wages did not increase for the workers, but the prices of the food grains increased very fast. So there was a situation, and that situation became very worse when bad weather conditions reduced the harvest and people were in danger in getting their food items as the price went very high. This condition created subsistence crisis in France. Subsistence crisis is extreme situation where the basic means of livelihoods of the people were in danger. So this was the situation took place in France between 1715 to 1789.